when you're dealing with a hoarder, I think and if you're a child of a hoarder, so if it is one of your parents, or it could even be both parents who are hoarders, you do very much have to try and learn to focus on your own life, and try and find a way of getting out of that house as much as possible. Moving out is obviously the ideal solution, because everyone deserves a place, a sanctuary to come to. It is hard because you're also thinking about the other parent who lives with the hoarder, and sometimes you're going to also try and help them to deal with the problem. I often found that I would be, after I'd moved out, I would still go and clear things in the house, more for my dad's benefit, since it was my mum that was a hoarder, just to make life easier for himself, and also to reduce the arguments, which are obviously quite distressing for a child to watch. I mean, when I say child, I mean, I'm not talking necessarily just the people who are from 0 to 16. We're talking about being a child of a parent up to any age. So you're having to try and, I mean, you have the benefit of at least having your own sanctuary by moving out, but you have to find ways of also arranging help in the home to try and keep a bit on top of it. I mean, we did hire a cleaner for a few hours, which is slightly beneficial. The only problem is that the actual hoarding, that's the thing which doesn't really get dealt with. Cleaner will come and mop the floor, hoover, and do some washing up, but they won't actually come in and look at things in the house that need to be thrown away. So it's a hard job to delegate to anyone. Maybe a solution is to try and have a clear out once or twice a year. I think even normal households do. I mean, since I've been living on my own, I've found that even normal people do end up having a lot of stuff, and houses are not always that easy to manage, which enabled me to feel a bit more compassionate towards my mum in terms of the amount of time that she probably would have had to take care of the home. But obviously the hoarding is a different type of problem, but I think there have to be limits, that you set boundaries for yourself, how much you will do and how much you won't do. I find it easier to have interactions with my mum when I bring her to my house, because my house is orderly, it's a tidier environment, or if I take her out, I can have a good day with her if we're out shopping, or if we just go to a cafe, because the environment there is obviously tidy and clean, and that's kind of been my way of trying to create a relationship with my mum, without the hoarding impacting as much, but I am obviously aware that it does affect my father, so I have tried my best to go there and try and clear things, but he also needs to have taken some responsibility and time out from his work as well to try and be on top of it. And trying to put the hoarder in a better mood rather than just criticising all the things that they're doing wrong, which can be hard to do, because it is so frustrating when you see things around that shouldn't be in the home, but just trying to find a way of being more positive with them, so that they don't see you as the enemy and don't feel so alienated themselves, so that they're more likely to try and cooperate to a certain extent. And then I've actually asked my mum to have one room in the house where she puts her things as opposed to everywhere. So maybe a box where she puts things, since she brings a lot of things really for friends. She says she brings it for friends to give to them so that they will be her friend. That is obviously her thinking, and a sign of her low self-esteem, that she needs to give things to people for them to want to be around her, and maybe also as a consequence of hoarding, her own family members don't want to be around her, so maybe that's left her feeling more isolated. So it's just trying to figure out and understand why it is she's doing what she's doing, and trying to instill a bit of positivity, positive feedback, as opposed to just criticising the actual mess and the state of the house, because that constant criticising is obviously going to be more demotivating for the hoarder. So these are suggestions, possible ways of handling the situation as best as you can, since you also have your own life to lead, your own work to do, your own home to look after. But it is one way of managing the situation and still trying to have a relationship with that person, because at the end of the day they're still your relative. They're still my mum. I don't have another mum, so I have to try and do what I can to try and create some sort of a relationship which works for the both of us.